Hey everyone, welcome to the Sonically podcast where music creators educate music creators. I'm Elmo. In today's episode, we are thrilled to welcome Caleb Hearn, a singer-songwriter whose heartfelt lyrics and captivating melodies have swiftly carved a niche for himself in the music world. From the early days of sharing his music online to captivating millions of listeners with his raw, honest tracks, Caleb has demonstrated an extraordinary knack for storytelling through his music. Klonopin is his new single out, which is a follow-up to his previous single, Little Bit Better, which are absolute masterpieces. In today's conversation, we'll dive deep into Caleb's musical influences, the creative process, songwriting, and how he navigates the complexities of the modern music landscape. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to the incredibly talented Caleb Hearn. How you doing, man?
Thank you so much. I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thank you for doing this. We've been so excited to have you because,
Yeah.
just the latest projects that you've released have been, just in my mind, such special contributors to the music space. And we just really wanted to know more about the person behind these heartfelt lyrics. I'm actually like really
Yeah.
surprised about how when I saw your pictures and stuff on social media and on the internet, you actually look like a college football player or something. Like I didn't expect that. Do you get that a lot or what?
I get that way too often, I feel
Really?
like. Yeah, I get that so much. Yeah, I played sports in high school, but and I sometimes there's apparently an NFL player out there that I resemble, I think, and there's been a couple people at the gym that come up to me and say, "Are you Mac
Oh, no
Jones?"
way.
And no. But
What were your sports?
yeah,
So
no, I
were your
appreciate it.
sports basketball and football?
It was basketball actually. I didn't play organized football. I mean, a lot of my friends did, and I played like pickup football in the backyard, that kind of stuff. But I never actually played on the team.
Crazy. Yeah, well, yeah,
So it was mostly
it's cool
basketball.
that somebody that looks like a pro baller can write like you. So yeah, high praise. But I was wondering if we could
Thanks.
just rewind back. I mean, we just talked about a little bit about your high school experience, but did you grow up with music in your life?
Yeah, to an extent. No one in my family ever pursued music professionally, but I grew up singing with my mom in church. She played piano and she also wrote songs, which I think is where I kind of get it from. But she just did it for her own amusement, and so she wrote a ton of different songs when she was like my age and even younger. And I kind of like started learning how to do that kind of from her, and I would just host little concerts in the living room as a kid. And it definitely grew up around music. Music has always been a big part of my life.
That's awesome. So what were some of the sonic experiences happening within the household? I think, when we had that brief discussion last time, you had mentioned like CCM. Was it like
Hmm.
Hillsongs and elevation worship and that type of stuff, or like what? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think it might have been a little bit before that time. Like Hillsong and Elevation, I think have kind of hit the surface hard, like in the last like 10 years. And I would say I was a little bit before that. As a kid growing up, it was more so like the Need to Breathe and Mercy Me and Casting Crowns and those guys that I kind of grew up listening to. And then also, as I got older too, a little bit outside of the CCM world, there was, Ed Sheeran was really my guy. Just I was like, wow, like this guy is just an incredible writer, and he just has a guitar and he tells stories, and so I was so fascinated with him and Taylor Swift to an extent too. Just both of them were true singer-songwriters at that time, still are. But so it's kind of all over the place.
There was something that I read also on the internet where before sort of taking this path, you started off with like rapping in like hip hop.
I did. I did, yeah.
Being from North Carolina, was Petey Pablo one of you guys? from back in the day?
Oh man, oh gosh, I got a lot of like I feel like there's been a lot of influence in that world. I think one of the biggest influences for the rap thing was a guy named NF. He's just and he kind of does come from the CCM world originally, but now he's kind of just translated to more secular, the more secular side of rap and that kind of thing. And he's just so talented, such a good writer, and so I really wanted to be like him for like a couple of years.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
The CCM rap was an interesting space too, because we had guys like Lecrae and um,
yeah,
actually Cross Movement Records with The Truth. Like, I don't know if you knew about them back in the day,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
yeah, I was
Uh-huh.
able to produce on the first and second records of The Truth's albums. So that's kind of like my start.
Wow, dude,
Yeah,
that's
it was
crazy.
kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah, it's so cool. I love Lecrae too. He's
yeah,
awesome.
totally. And at what point did you discover the creation side of music? I mean, with all those influences, what was
Yeah.
sort of like the first moment where you sort of felt the dopamine hit of, wow, I'm taking all these influences. I have this guitar, I have this pen, I've made something, and
Yeah.
people are reacting to it.
Yeah, I think the first big moment where that actually that spark happened was um, I was 20 years old. It was May of 2020. COVID was not May of 2020. Sorry, December of 2020. Um, and I had spent all year like just getting better at my craft and learning to write. And I wrote a song called "Always Be." And it was just it was a simple ballad about my best friend who passed away. And I posted it, and it just shot up immediately, and got millions of views on different platforms, and people were DMing me saying that it was changing their lives, and it was a really cool moment. And that's kind of when I realized, like, hey, like, I think I can do this. Like this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing, at least right now. So, and then of course, since then, there's been a lot of solidifying moments.
That was the first ever full song that you wrote where you were just like, I'm gonna write this and then I'm gonna record it and I'm gonna put it out. Like, we found, or I found, like in other people's stories, there's kind of like a ramp up of courage, kind of like, you write
Yeah.
a little song as a kid, like a horsey song or something like that, and that's kind of like how you
Hmm.
kind of channel this sort of creative energy with music.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like not till later on where there's a little bit more self-discovery, where like they release something and then it's like, whoa, I really can't do this. But like, this is your first song that you wrote and put out, and it did all of that. Is that right?
Well, so to an extent, I technically had put out, I was still kind of, I mean, I went through the little rap phase in high school. I definitely had put out stuff before, but it was the first song that I really felt like like it's the first song I really felt good about, kind of. Like everything else felt like I was trying to prove something. And then this was the first song that I feel like when I put it out, I was like, you know what? Like that wasn't the thought. The thought was, I think people need to hear this. And that was like the most confidence I've ever had in a release. Everything else was just like, hope they like this one.
Mm,
But then this one was more like, love it or hate it. I think this needs to be in the world.
wow.
You know. So yeah, I think it was just a turning point. For me, I think. And it was also the first time I kind of discovered the singer-songwriter
Mm.
lane sonically, too. Um, it was a stripped back version. Yeah, so yeah, it was a big discovery moment for me.
I mean, I guess that discovery moment was really your break into sort of the industry in a way where people were really kind of like paying
Hmm.
attention, that led you to this path, this journey where
For
you
sure,
can
for sure.
legitimately say you are a player in the
Hmm.
game. Can you share a significant challenge you faced in your career thus far and how you overcame it?
Um, I think that, I mean, one of my biggest challenges in my career has been, I mean, to be honest with you, it's been my voice, actually. So one of my biggest challenges is there's so many artists that are just incredible singers. Um, and my range is limited. I've had to teach myself to any sort of falsetto that you hear in any of my music. I never was able to do that even in like a couple years ago. I've only recently started discovering that side of it. Um, yeah, I don't know much about my own voice. I don't know how to push it and all these things. So that's been a challenge, really, and it still is. But I will say, like, I feel like I have been able to accomplish a lot more than I thought I ever would with my voice. And that's just, that's why I focus so hard on what I'm good at, what I'm really good at. I'm not saying I'm a terrible singer, but I do think that there's a lot better singers out there, on paper and that kind of thing. And for me, I like to really focus on what I'm good at, and that's writing songs. So the songs can be super good, and and I think that what I focus on is just trying to deliver it, perform it in the most honest and vulnerable way. Because as much as I would love to be able to sing like Adele, I can't, and I can only keep getting better. But there are always going to be some sort of limitations. So I just have to be smart with it, and that's been a challenge for me. But I think I'm getting to the point now where I feel a lot more confident in it. I just went on tour, and that was uh, that was like the first real tour that I felt confident in my voice, and I felt like people really were enjoying it.
Is that something that you put on yourself, or is that something like critics have told you?
No, that's something I put on myself. But yeah, I hope they haven't. But no, to be honest, I mean, I'm definitely a big self-critic for sure, but I feel like I feel like I'm pretty fair on myself to an extent. I kind of call it like it is, and I hear myself and that kind of thing, and I'm like, like it's pretty good. It's just not like, boom, wow. So I definitely am a big critic of myself, and it's definitely something that I've created for myself. So maybe there's people that would be like, you're crazy for that, crazy for thinking that. But yeah, it's been a challenge for me though to kind of at least let myself kind of know or teach myself to recognize that I'm where I'm at for a reason. And I think the writing goes the farthest in that. Like I do feel very confident that I write good songs and it touches people. So that's really all there is. And, that's the biggest part of music.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you reflect on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a well-known fact that you moved from North Carolina to Nashville to pursue music. I'm wondering why you
hmm
chose Nashville out of like other cities.
Um, yeah, it's a great question. Funny story. I was flying to Los Angeles for like almost 2 or 3 years, and I'm from North Carolina, so if you know the route, you're actually flying right over Nashville, straight to California, right? So I was flying over Nashville to Los Angeles for probably the first 2 years of my career, and because a lot of the people I know are out there and that kind of thing, and then I was so hesitant on moving to LA. I knew I needed to move somewhere, so I was thinking LA was probably going to be where I had to go, and right before I kind of made that decision, I told my manager, I was like, hey, you know what's funny? Like, isn't Nashville that big music city, like that everyone talks about? And he's like, I mean, yeah, like, you go check it out. And I was like, okay. So we scheduled a few rides, and I went out there. And I knew one person out there. He let me sleep on his couch, and I instantly just fell in love with the city. I was like, wow, this is like, I mean, it's not quite as big as LA, but it has everything I need. Incredible musicians, incredible writers, incredible producers. The live music scene's maybe the best in the world. And and it also just feels like home. You know, it felt like North Carolina, like Tennessee, like the mountains and the the changing weather and the full extent of all the seasons that I'm used to, and just the nature and all that stuff. I really, really enjoy it. And it was kind of an easy sell. You know, I literally came back the next week to look at apartments.
Wow.
So it was a very easy sell for me. I was like, yeah, I'm going to move here, I think, man. And my manager was like, all right. So,
And there's a deep
yeah.
history with Nashville, especially sort of like in the country
Mm-hmm.
music lane of things. And you
For
mentioned
sure.
about kind of like the landscape and everything. Is there something different about the spirit of the city compared to LA?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a little bit more of a down to earth feeling. And I don't mean that like, I know a lot of really good people in LA, and I don't mean it like that, but I think that Nashville in general has, like, everyone I meet, like, I've rarely met someone who just doesn't feel, who feels like, or like everyone I talk to just makes you feel like, oh yeah, I should be having this
Mm,
conversation. Like, this is, you know, I could talk to somebody who's won 8 Grammys, or someone who, like, I just met at the gas station, and either one makes me feel the same,
yeah.
you know? And I think that down to earth, like, hey, we're all in this together, and we only have a little bit of time on on this earth, so I'm gonna be nice
Mm,
to you today. You know, that part. That's, I think it's the Southern
mm,
hospitality that I'm used
mm.
to, and I think that definitely is still in Nashville for sure. But yeah, it's a mix of that, but also there's a lot of diversity in Nashville too. So it's been really, really cool to kind of feel that out, that kind of thing. So yeah,
Gotcha.
super nice. Sorry, my dad's talking
Oh,
in the
no worries.
background.
Yeah. Say hi for me. Uh,
Okay.
um, a lot of music creators describe songwriting as a vessel that channels life's profound experiences into sonic paintings full of emotional colors. Where Do We Go From Here is an example of this. However, this song was written by you, but not about you. Can you take us through the step by step journey of how you were able to write someone else's story with such depth and emotional clarity?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think that the person I wrote that song about, I don't even know if they really know that I wrote it about
Mm,
them. So, because I've never named names, and I've never, but when I was a little bit younger, probably 15 or 16, I knew of a couple in my church, young couple, um, that, you know, they had like 2 or 3 kids, and they were just really starting their life together. And the wife got cancer and got really sick, and she passed away. And it was just really, really, like, it took a really big toll on me for some reason. I didn't even really know them, but it just kind of stuck with me. And then one day, um, I was just writing, a little bit with one of my friends too, that actually moved to Nashville with me, and I just kind of told him this story, and he was like, "Man, like, that's so sad." And I was like, "Yeah, like, I kind of want to write about it." And so we just kind of started, you know, sitting there and writing, like, what if we were in his shoes? How would that feel? You know, like, where do we go from here? Literally, where do we go? Where's the next step? Because I was just thinking in my mind, like, I don't know what that next step would be. You know, I would be, I am just um, I feel so sad, and I can't imagine that pain, but I also feel like extremely, I don't know the word for it, extremely impressed. I don't know, that's lack for a better term, but with the way that he was able to deal with that, you
mm,
know, because I just can't imagine. So yeah, that was, it was just such a heavy story that had such a big impact on my life that I wanted to write about it, because I know that that's something that cancer and losing people close to us, like it's something that all of us feel to an extent. So I thought that, by writing something like that, that could help people.
I love that. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
amazing how it was somebody's story that you didn't really know them that well, but for some reason that you were compelled to, or I guess convicted, or there was something about that
Yeah.
was just sort of like in your heart to um, use your gifts to tell that story. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah,
there must have
absolutely.
been a reason for that, and probably the people that have heard that song and me looking in the comments too of the YouTube is just sort of
Mm.
like people say stuff like, "Wow, that affected me. That I went through something like that." And thank you for telling that story. So you must
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
good when you read those comments.
I do. I do. It definitely, it's kind of a validation thing for me. It makes me feel like, okay, yeah, I should be doing this because it's impacting people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all I really want to do with this. So, yeah, I think that's my favorite part of it.
Mm-hmm. Little Bit Better was a song you wrote with Rosie. The
Mm.
chorus reads, "Hold me in the darkness, hold me till it hurts less. You tell me that I'm all right. Show me where the light shines through. Please stay. Love me through the weather. Please say this'll be forever. Hold me in the darkness. Even when it's hard with you, it's little bit better." In past interviews, you said this chorus took 6 hours to write with Rosie. Within those
Yeah.
6 hours, do you recall which lines you and Rosie were trying to perfectly shape to hit right?
Yeah. I think what took the longest actually was the melody. So the da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, that took a while because we wanted it to feel like we wanted the song, the chorus, to have the same feeling as um like I don't even know, like something by Passenger, like, well, you only need the light when it's burning low. That's kind of thing that you never will forget. It will just be engraved in your head. So we had so many different melodies that normally I would have been like, let's go, that's
Yeah.
great, But this one we just were so picky, and yeah, I think I'm gonna try to be that picky from now on because it's the best song that we've ever had. So, but no, I do remember the melody took the first probably 3 hours, 4 hours, and then the final two, it was just like it was. I mean, I even have a voice memo of this, which is crazy, but I remember. Me and Rosie are both just kind of humming along to this melody that we have, and we don't know what we're saying. And then I think I fumbled out the. I don't think I was saying a little bit better, but I think I fumbled out the cadence of that. I think I said like, I think I said little bit. Yeah, I was like, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't know what else, like what that phrase meant yet. And I think that's when Rosie was like, better. And I was like, what? That's great. But no, I think the way it worked with me and Rosie was she had most of the ideas for, but now you hold me in the darkness, hold me till it hurts less you. Show me where I'm going, right? Show me where the light. I don't even remember them now. But that whole first segment of the chorus was mostly
Mhm.
her. And then the second part of the chorus was mostly me, where it was like, please stay, love me through the weather, please say this will be forever. That whole part was mostly me. So it was kind of a 50-50 effort. And then, of course, like, uh, they're going to hate me for saying this, but Colin and Alex, that we did the song with, they were helping us shape this the whole way. Like, they were two great writers on this song as well. So it was me, Rosie, and them too. Uh, but yeah, they were kind of like letting me and Rosie go a little bit, kind of, because they were like, hey, like, these two seem like they know where they want to go with the song, so we're gonna kind of just steer them in the right direction, and just like be the, yeah, just be like there to kind of throw out ideas and shoot down ideas. And yeah, so it was really cool. It was a really cool process. It took forever, but once we got it, it was like,
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah. Were you guys doing passes in the vocal booth, like trading like passes in Pro Tools or whatever, or was it just like you're doing voice notes beside each other, and then it's like, oh, I got something. How about this? And then you.
Yeah, we had voice notes. Yeah, we had voice notes set up, and we were just literally like playing chords and mumbling and everything you can think of, just for probably like 5-6 hours. Yeah, and then we took a lunch break because we were tired. That was a little bit in the beginning where I was like, I don't know if we're gonna get anything, and then we just kept pushing and pushing, and I'm so glad we did.
That's so amazing. Yeah, because you hear stories about some songs taking like 15-30 minutes, and then it's sort of, you have this core thing, and then it's a boom, it's done. But then some of them, some of the stories are like you push through, and then it's something great. And I think both sides have their merit, because like I think the push through ones sometimes are like more meaningful, because you remember the kind of a little bit of pain that it went through to get to the finish line. Yeah
100%. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, you're right, the shorter ones sometimes can be like I like the thing I love about a shorter song. Like, we wrote Klonopin really quickly, actually, and the thing about that one is like we wrote it so quickly because everything felt right, and we just did not overthink any of it. And sometimes overthinking is the number one killer of good music. So you just got to go with that first instinct that feels good,
100%. Speaking of Klonopin, it tackles themes that are linked to your personal experiences with addiction to a prescription drug that helps you with panic attacks and anxiety. Can you recall the journey that ultimately led to writing the song?
Yeah, absolutely. I was prescribed Klonopin, an anti-anxiety medication, around Christmas of last year, and it was just for this time period where I was really, really struggling. I mean, I struggle every day, but this was just like a peak of probably some of the worst anxiety I've had in a while, and I need the daily anxiety medication that I take was not doing it. I needed something faster acting and probably a little bit stronger to kind of just calm me down. Kind of the kind of thing that if someone goes to the hospital with a panic attack, probably the thing that they would give them to be like, hey, we just need you to calm down, It's basically like that. So you're supposed to take it as needed for when you're having an anxiety attack. So I started taking it as needed, and then the as needed started becoming every day, because I would have some sort of panic, or what I thought would be panic every day. And I was tempted to just be like, well, I guess it's as needed, so I guess I got to take it again, It was never like I'm addicted to the feeling of it. It was more so I was addicted to the security of having it. Like I wouldn't deal with my anxiety. I would just put a Band-Aid over it over and over and over, right? Because it was the quickest way to feel better, right? So, because it doesn't really even make you feel unless you just take a ton of it or something. But like, I would only take the prescribed dose. I would take it often. And I don't know if that's like harmful to the body. I'm not sure. I didn't really look into that, but I do know I don't want to be dependent on anything, right? So when I was first writing, or when I was first got to LA it was actually the same trip. No, it wasn't. It was not the same trip. It's a little bit better. But when we were starting to write that, I was just kind of really still kind of struggling through it a little bit, because I think I stopped it altogether in like early February. And and then I was just sitting in LA, and I just started thinking about how bad I needed it, Like it made me feel like I needed
Mm-hmm.
it. And that's where like I actually just wrote by myself, like, I need you like water, I need you like a child needs a father, and like a stitch in my skin, it's almost a fix till I bleed again. Like all these things, this toxic relationship with something,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I didn't necessarily even want to say Klonopin yet. And so what we ended up doing was putting Klonopin in the song like one or two times, and it's in the very end of it, so that the whole song, you know, I didn't want to put it first line so people were like, oh, well, this doesn't relate to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? I wanted people to be able to use this song to tackle and help with their own addictions, whether that's alcohol or a person, even like a toxic relationship, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So, yeah, that was kind of my journey with the unspeakable word.
Yeah.
But, Connor,
Yeah. I was like, is it like when I first saw the word out, is it Klonopin or is it Klonopin? Like it was a little bit of a
yeah, I
tomato type of
know.
thing. But
Yeah, it might be actually. You might
oh
be
really?
right. But I've heard people say both. I think, or no, I've only heard Klonopin, but it's never been by a medical
Okay, got
professional.
it.
So I could be completely wrong, and everyone else I know could be completely wrong. But I think it's
Well,
Klonopin.
I'll go with
But
Klonopin. Um, what are some of the moments? I mean, for everybody it's different. I have my own sort of things too, like but that leads you to the point of the levels of anxiety that make you want to take the pill. Like is it like a worry of social interaction? Is it public speaking, or is it like what was your thing that kind of triggered?
yeah, mine's every time I tell people this, it's just it's kind of a weird thing. I feel like because it's not as common. It's not more like more common types of anxiety. I have anxiety around my health, like my well physical being. So, and it started kind of with just the feeling of a panic attack, not knowing what that was. Like I just had a panic attack, probably just because of stress and being scared of something. Something triggered it, and I didn't know what it was. But really, what the anxiety is around now is those physical symptoms of the panic attack. Because when you have a panic attack, it's different for some people, but some people's hearts race. Mine like skips a beat or flutters, right? And then there's like, you know, the sweating, that kind of thing. There's the impending doom in your chest, the feeling of like you're like this throat sensation feeling that's just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, like something's off. And so that feeling, those physical actual feelings that I was having and still have are the thing that causes my anxiety. So if I feel something like a typical, like where someone might be like, oh, my arm hurts right now, like my anxiety will try to take over and be like, well, why does your arm hurt? I wonder if that's, you know, your left arm, it's heart related
Mhm.
maybe, or this. And so it's just a downward spiral. And Klonopin relaxes me to the point where I don't have those physical symptoms. So that's why I would take
Yeah.
it. That's why it would be like, hey, like I would get into this state of like, oh my gosh, I'm lightheaded, I'm dizzy, like I'm like, is this it? You know? And then I would just take a Klonopin and it would be like, I would kind of forget
Mm.
about it. I would kind of just like go on with my day. And sometimes it made me a little bit sleepy, so I was able to like just sometimes like take a nap for 30 minutes, but it wasn't like a shot of Benadryl, the
Yeah.
purple Benadryl. But yeah, no, yeah, that's kind of what would lead up. So I know it's a little different, um, but yeah, that's kind of the type of anxiety that I deal with.
How are you dealing with the anxiety now that you're not taking it? Do you have an alternative solution, alternative
Yeah,
prescription?
I actually don't have an alternative. I got off of it because really the only thing that works like Klonopin would be Xanax or Ativan, and they're all the same thing. So it's like, you know, they just have different lifespans. You know what I mean? Like shorter, longer, whatever. So, and they're all I don't know,
Hmm.
benzos
Yeah.
basically. So, and they're all just like not
Hmm.
great. So I got off of I got off of Klonopin completely, and then it's basically been me. It's been hard. It's been really hard, but it's basically been me prioritizing my mental health more. Because with Klonopin, I could kind of just take Klonopin when I'm stressed and anxious, and then treat my body and treat myself like crap the rest of the time, and I could get by, right? But like for me, I feel like now it's forced me to address the issue, face it, right? Go to therapy, talk about it. And so therapy has really helped me. I guess that's what I would say my alternative is. So I've started therapy and that kind of thing, and that's definitely helped. And I really think what helps the most, and it's so simple, but I would encourage anyone that has anxiety to do this before you start taking medication. But it sounds so simple, and it sounds like this won't work, but genuinely, I feel like a lot of our anxiety these days comes from what we're putting in our bodies. And are we getting enough sunlight? Are we getting enough exercise? Are we getting the right amount of vitamins for ourselves, right? So, because the best mental health I've ever had since I even started this whole anxiety journey when I was working out every single day, and I was eating very clean, eating good foods, and I was staying away from any sort of alcohol, stuff like that, as when I felt the best. So that's what my first piece of advice would be to anyone before the doctor's like, hey, we're going to stick you on a daily medication that you can't get off of.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be my first piece of advice, because it really is so important, and it takes I didn't realize how much that part of it is dependent on, you know.
That's so good. Does you mentioned you just came off tour. Does the anxiety of getting on stage and performing for a theater full of people affect you, or is that more like therapy for you?
I definitely have some anxiety, but I'll be honest, because of the way my anxiety presents itself in like the health form or whatever, I don't really have social anxiety. I think actually it's so funny, I think one of my anxiety triggers and symptoms is being too social. I think that's something that I've talked with my therapist, because, she said a lot of people with anxiety, close up. But then there are some people that are extroverts, and their way of dealing with anxiety is like just almost talking too much. And when I'm like in a setting where I'm like just chatting away, sometimes my fiance will be like, "Hey, like I think you're having anxiety. Like you're just talking a lot." And I'm not even talking about anything. I'm just rambling and circling. And it's just like, so that's kind of going on stage, I have anxiety, just typical normal anxiety about like, oh, I'm about to go sing for people. Like makes you anxious. But it doesn't, honestly, and the more I do it too, the more comfortable I am with it. So, and once I'm up there, it's like everything kind of just blocks out. It's
fascinating.
I'm in a zone at that point. Yeah, I know. It really is fascinating.
Yeah.
The brain is
crazy. And you're right. It's a different type of situation than other people that I've talked to, than mine too, because I totally close up when I'm in front of a large group of people, or if I just psych myself out, like, I don't know, somebody's better than me or something like that, and I just kind of like close up. But it's interesting to hear about your situation, and thank you so much for your honesty and transparency. It's
of course.
so appreciated, because people that hear this, sometimes you just need to know that there's, like we said before with some of the songs too, it's like there's somebody out there like me who I can relate to and connect to through these stories.
Absolutely.
So what are some other things going on in your life these days that could end up in future Caleb Hearn musical works, like the new LP you're working on, perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. We are wrapping up an album right now, which will come out this year. That's the number one thing that we're excited about. We're also planning to do some headline touring this year, which those are the two probably biggest things that I've ever got to be a part of. So I'm really excited. I feel like this year is going to be a really big year. And all of these things hopefully are going to be coming in the next few months. So I'm really pumped about it. Yeah, those are the two I would say have all my focus, right? Just album and tour, which I think is the two biggest things any musician can be stoked about, right?
Are there any thematic things happening in the creative space for this LP that you might want to mention?
Overall, this album is going to be it's going to be full of just healing. It's going to be the original album name, and I won't even mention what the album name is going to be yet, but I'll say this: the original album idea name that I had was Forward, and I wanted that. I liked that because this album is going to be a lot about, because I write a lot about my past, and this album is a lot about what's coming up and looking forward. And there's still going to be a lot of sad songs, but it's still kind of from a present view instead of a reminiscent view.
We're now at the last question of the main interview section.
Okay.
And we like to ask this question to all of our guests because we are creating all of this information for the up-and-coming music creators. What advice would you give to young artists who look up to you and aspire to make their mark as an accomplished singer-songwriter like yourself?
Absolutely. First off, I love this question because I've had it a couple times, and the only other times that I've had it, I would say, are the other best interviews I've had, including this one.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's a great question. Yeah, of course. The reason I really love this question, though, is because I get to talk about something I'm passionate about, and that is being true to yourself. That would be my advice. I think that for so long, in the beginning of my career, I was chasing and trying to be something else, right? I was trying to be a version of myself that, honestly, just be the version of myself that everyone wants and appeals to everyone, right? Instead of just being true to who I am. So, yeah, with that being said, just be yourself.
If we could move on to the last segment of the show, it's called the rapid fire round. The first question is, what DAW do you use and why?
I use Logic, and I use Logic because it's the only one I know how to use.
Favorite plugins?
Ooh, that's a good one. My favorite plugins are Valhalla, Reverb, and I think the other one, there's a plugin called Soothe.
What does that do?
It's kind of like a saturation compression vibe, so it kind of makes your vocal just really crispy.
What is a sound that always brings you joy?
This is actually a good one. I was actually talking about this the other day. My dog does this thing where he sits on the floor, and it's kind of his way of making us feel like we're not giving him enough attention, but he'll sigh. He'll be like, so dramatic. Yeah. But it makes me feel so happy because I'm like, oh, it's so cute.
I feel like that's a future sample coming up in your next song. Yeah. One of your next songs, it can be called Sigh.
Sigh. Love that.
How would you rank your music creator skill sets out of 10 for the following? First one, beat making.
Oh man, 4.
Lyric writing.
9.5.
Sound design.
5.
Mixing.
I'd say 7.
Top lining.
8.
Music theory.
4.
Arranging.
6.
Nice. What is your reaction or facial expression when you know you made some heat?
That's good. That's great. It's kind of like trying to think of. I'm trying to put myself in the situation. It's kind of like a self, like almost like you were looking in the mirror and just opening your mouth really wide, and your eyes get big. And it's kind of like I always do that because I'm actually thinking in my head like, wait, am I tripping or is this actually good? So that's why I'm kind of like asking a question. I'm like, and then I look and say, wait. And then everybody else goes, wait. So,
Love that.
yeah,
I was imagining like when you said the mirror, like looking at yourself like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone,
yeah.
and
Yes,
he's
yeah,
like his
yeah.
eyes like oh,
Yeah,
has his
yeah.
hands to the
Hands up. Yeah,
yeah.
good.
Um, if there was an invention that could make your life better as a music creator, what would it be?
Mm. Um, it's a good question. I think, um, oh, yeah, definitely. Some sort of thing some sort of robot that can dress as you and look just like you and make all of your social media content. Because that's the
Oh, I
hardest
like
part.
that. That's your
Yeah.
least favorite part?
Yeah, I mean, I love connecting with people on social media, but the part of like making the content itself, oh yeah, it's just so frustrating because you have to
Yeah,
keep doing it over
it's
and
hard.
over because you keep messing up. You're like, oh, I gotta do this again.
I feel your pain. I feel your pain.
Yeah, yeah.
If AI technology was somehow able to take over our jobs as music creators, what new career path would you choose?
That's a good question. I think, honestly, I think I would be pretty good in sales. I've had a sales job before, but I think that I would, because I'll be honest with you, if I wasn't in music, I would just pick something that I can make the most money in. Because I already know that if I wasn't in music, I'm not going to enjoy anything else. So, might as well pick something that
Mm,
pays really good. So I would try to go into like sales
yeah,
or something and try to sell as much as I can so I can retire as early as I can and live on a yacht. And then secretly start making music
I
again.
love that. Create this like underground, like human music creator club.
Yeah, yeah, that you go to. Be like, oh yeah, like AI is not cool anymore. Have you heard human music?
Yeah, yeah, we might get there in about 50 years or something like that.
Yeah, we might.
What's
Yeah.
next for Caleb Hearn? Anything you want to promote?
If it wasn't for you, my latest single just came out. Klonopin, a little bit better. Those three singles are the first singles of this year. I'm really pumped about them. I really hope you guys love them. I would love you guys to go listen to them if you haven't. Um, I'm working on an album, my debut album, and I'm gonna be going on tour soon. So stay tuned. Follow me on all the socials to kind of get all the updates. Check out my website; it's got all the updates there as well. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, and I'm just so honored to been able to do this.